A gender-critical lesbian has won a case against Northumbria Police who failed to act impartially by marching at a Newcastle Pride parade. Lindsay Smith claimed that the force's uniformed participation in last year's march broke the professional oath sworn by each police officer to act with impartiality at work. And in a landmark High Court ruling today, a judge found that there would have been issues in policing with impartiality if, for example, an attempted counter-demonstration by gender-critical people had broken out. Court filings outline how Smith entirely accepts that it was necessary for the event to be policed, but she objects to what she sees as the force and/or members of the force associating themselves with the views of supporters of gender ideology and transgender activists by actively participating. Gender ideology, she claimed, had been embraced by the organisers of the event and was supported by many of the participants. While at the march, police were seen marching with a Police Pride flag, Pride colours, unison trade union banners, and more. The 34-year-old objected to how Vanessa Jardine, the Chief Constable of Northumbria Police, took part in the parade, associated with messaging which supports gender ideology, held a static display in support of the viewpoint, and stationed a police van decked out in Pride colours at the event. Smith said that police officers who took part acted contrary to their duties of impartiality and that the decision to authorise and support it was unlawful. The 34-year-old Miss Smith, who was expelled from Newcastle United FC following a months-long probe into her gender-critical views, said she was delighted with today's ruling. In court, she was backed by witness statements from gender-critical professor Kathleen Stock and Harry Miller, co-founder of campaign group Fair Cop, which seeks to remove politics from policing. The pair gave extensive evidence of the years of support for pride and gender ideology by Northumbria Police. But in return, the force pointed to how it was obliged to give effect to the public sector equality duty outlined under the Equality Act 2010. Jardine said that the transgender and LGBT+ community are subjected to hate crimes, particularly vulnerable, and experience social isolation. As such, it is important for the police to demonstrate to potential recruits and serving officers that it will be an inclusive environment in which to serve. Police participation in Pride, Jardine said, was necessary and justified in demonstrating that there is a safe and inclusive space for standing with or reporting crime against the LGBT+ community. Justice Linden today confirmed, in all of these cases, the fact that the officers had publicly stated their support for transgender rights by taking part in the 2024 march would be likely to give the impression that they may not deal with the matter fairly and impartially. Responding to the judgment, Smith said, "I'm delighted with the judgment of the court. It is terrifying to live in a community where the police have abandoned their duty of impartiality and embraced a highly controversial political cause. I've experienced firsthand what happens when the police forget their duty of impartiality." Lindsay Smith joined Tom Harwood and Emily Carver on Good Afternoon Britain on GBNews to discuss her court battle.
Well, she joins us now. Linzi Smith, welcome to the programme. I suppose, first of all, what an extraordinary story that a football club tried to ban you for political views that you hold. I mean, how did you respond to that?
At the time, it was incredibly bizarre. Like, I thought it was a joke at the beginning, I went to the police to check. They said I wasn't. The club insisted I was, and it's kind of all stemmed from there. I did a subject access request with the club very quickly because I'm not silly, and I knew I was being lied to. But what I've gotten both from obviously pressing the club and doing those, and doing what I've done with the police and the complaint with them, and seeing that 14 police officers in total, ranging from PC all the way up to CID level, were responsible for having me investigated for a hate crime. I think even me in my wildest dreams couldn't quite comprehend the levels that people have gone to try and silence me.
Yeah, so there's this, Lindsay. So this was an individual who got in touch with Newcastle United at first to say that there's this woman in the stands who's been tweeting these things against transgender people. Trans people who come to a Newcastle United match won't feel comfortable sitting next to her, so therefore she should be banned. And then this escalated into a police investigation. Is that what happened?
Yeah, so the Newcastle United spent about 3 months investigating me, which I only found out after I did my subject access requests. They'd been looking at me since like June, and it was November when I found out. I just got an email saying that my account had been suspended because I was under investigation for a hate crime. So you know, that's kind of where it all stemmed, and this whole kind of worms got opened by just the sheer level of just the sheer level that they all went to do this to me. Really, it's all been really bizarre.
You've since had an apology from Northumbria Police, so they've said we handled this in a terrible way, have they?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a half-hearted one. You know, you're not going to get a full-on admission from them, I suppose. They apologised for the situation I found myself in, which was a bit of a slap in the face to a degree, but I feel like I've gotten my vindication today.
Yes.
Yeah, I found myself in it. It's my fault.
But this seems to be a bit of a free speech victory for you. People should be able to hold political opinions, even controversial political opinions, and attend the football club that they love. I mean, that seems to be a...
Controversial in your opinion?
Well, lots of people might think lots of views are controversial. I'm sure that everyone holds a controversial view or two in the eyes of someone.
Never.
But here's the other half of this story that we've been talking about. You're now going after Northumbria Police for their participation in Pride marches and events. Why are you doing that?
Well, you know, given the way people do deem this as controversial, you know, it's a very controversial political hot topic at the moment. You know, you've got the trans activists versus the gender criticals, as we're called. You know, one believes gender identity comes above all else. People like me believe that sex is binary, and that should come above anything to do with someone's personal feelings. You know, feel the way you want to feel, but I'm not obligated to play along with you. I believe sex is binary, and I'm not going to be bullied into thinking any different.
So you believe by virtue of the police officers taking part in a Pride event with presumably the Pride Progress flag, which represents transgender people as well as LGBT people, that therefore they're being overtly political. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's the argument that it's been. It's basically, you know, obviously police have to be there to police the event. We've never had an issue with that. You need police there when there's large crowds, and especially when, you know, Pride is a protest at the end of the day. It started as a protest. The Stonewall riots were a protest. Even to this day, people march chanting that Pride is a protest, you know. So, of course, when it's something like that, you do need the police there to manage the crowds. But what my issue is the fact that they're in there in uniform with rainbow all over their uniforms, holding flags and basically advocating for the trans queer, all the rest of the end of it, you know. As a lesbian, and I think there'll be many lesbians and gays who feel the same as me, is we're slowly being eroded out of our own community.
Do you think that just because someone participates in a Pride march, I mean, basically every large bank in the country does this. Lots of big firms do this. So I mean, I know soft drinks companies. I mean, does that mean that they necessarily subscribe to every jot and tittle of a particular element of transgender ideology? I mean, I'm not sure one necessarily has to follow the other. Doesn't it seem a little bit ironic that you've won a free speech case in one hand, being able to go to something holding your views, but now want to stop the police going to something because of the views of that? Is there not a contradiction in terms? Surely there's a free speech position here that's open access for everyone.
Well, it's not that we're stopping the police from attending. If you're off duty and you want to go to Pride as a gay police officer, absolutely go for it. But what we're saying is you can't be identifiable as a police officer. You just can't be, because it all comes down to public perception. If you're participating in this event, and there's someone like me who sees you doing that, now for me, you know, like you say, it's very controversial. And if I see a police officer adorning the trans colours and things like that, that makes me feel as a lesbian gender critical woman that I can't get the same kind of treatment. And that was just very apparent with the way I was treated. I've had death threats. I've had my face photoshopped onto women being hanged. I've had all kinds of abuse, and not once have the police taken any of it seriously. Not once. They've got it all, and they haven't investigated not one bit. Yeah, I was pulled in for investigation for a hate crime. And all the way up from PC to CID level, they deemed it necessary to do that to me, you know? And that's where this is all stemmed from.
There is a difference insofar as you are just a private individual who happened to like supporting Newcastle United and going to matches, whereas the police are a public service who are supposed to be impartial on everything deemed political. So I guess there is that difference. But yes, Lindsay Smith, thank you very much. LGBT advocate, great to hear your story. Really interesting.